In our headlines on this Friday, January 23rd, here in South Korea. 73 South Koreans who had been detained in Cambodia for alleged involvement in online scams returned home earlier this morning to face interrogation. And a closed-door meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump in Davos was followed by a similar interaction between Russian leader Vladimir Putin and U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff in Moscow. Meanwhile, a charming county in southern Korea is gaining traction for an intriguing campaign that allows travel experiences at half the expenses. Dozens of South Koreans suspected of scam operations from Cambodia landed here at Incheon International Airport earlier this morning to face criminal investigation. Our Chung Hye-rim reports.
73 South Koreans accused of operating scams and violent crime rings in Cambodia have been extradited to South Korea for investigation. The suspects arrived Friday morning at Incheon International Airport aboard a chartered Korean air flight from Phnom Penh. Detention warrants had already been issued for them when they boarded the plane, as the inside of a Korean registered plane is considered national territory under Korean law. Upon landing, all 73 suspects were taken into custody and transferred to detention facilities, wearing handcuffs and escorted by 2 police guards per person. The suspects, mostly men in their 20s and 30s, kept their heads down, wore masks, and refused to answer any reporters' questions. The suspects allegedly defrauded 869 South Korean victims of around $33.3 million through romance scams, fake investment schemes, and other fraudulent activities, according to the Blue House. 70 of the suspects are linked to scam crimes, while 3 face additional charges, including hostage-taking, robbery, and illegal gambling. Notably, a married couple accused of running a large-scale romance scam using deepfake technology were among the extradited after going through extreme measures, including plastic surgery to avoid capture. Police say the suspects were detained at 7 scam compounds across Cambodia, including sites in Sihanoukville, Poi Phet near the Thai border, and Mondulkiri province near Vietnam. Victims, Korean men in their 20s who were held hostage and tortured, were also reportedly rescued during the raid. The operation was led by the Cambodian Police Force and Intelligence Service, assisted by a joint Korean task force involving the National Police Agency, Justice and Foreign Affairs Ministries, and the National Intelligence Service. This is South Korea's largest ever requested extradition of criminal suspects from a single nation. Officials say police will question the suspects before prosecutors seek formal arrest warrants. Chung Hye-rim, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, e-commerce giant Coupang's American investors are seeking legal action against the South Korean government on grounds of discrimination. Our Lee Seung-jae explains.
2 major U.S. investors in e-commerce giant Coupang have formally notified the South Korean government of their intent to pursue international arbitration, accusing authorities of discriminatory treatment toward the U.S.-listed firm. Green Oaks Capital Partners and Altimeter Capital Management said Thursday they plan to file arbitration claims under the South Korea-U.S. Free Trade Agreement. The move follows a series of South Korean government investigations into Coupang after a massive customer data breach was revealed last November. In a notice sent to President Lee Jae-myung and the Justice Ministry, the investors said their combined equity stake in Coupang exceeds $1.5 billion. They argued that regulatory pressure intensified as Coupang gained market share from domestic Korean and Chinese competitors. In a separate filing to the Office of the United States Trade Representative, the investors also urged Washington to launch a probe under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974 and consider trade remedies. They claimed that enforcement actions against Coupang far exceeded those faced by rival firms. The investors cited hundreds of audits, inspections, and penalties imposed by multiple South Korean agencies, including the Fair Trade Commission, tax authorities, labor regulators, and financial watchdogs. They described the data breach as limited and accused officials of exaggerating the incident to inflame public opinion and harm the company. They also said the regulatory campaign erased billions of dollars in market value, losses they say were borne by U.S. shareholders, including retirement funds. In response, the Blue House said the investigation should not be viewed as a trade dispute with the U.S., stressing that the probe reflects the unprecedented scale of the data leak and is being conducted in accordance with South Korean law. Coupang was founded by Korean-American entrepreneur Kim Bum-seok and generates about 90% of its revenue in South Korea. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
On the diplomatic front, efforts to establish peace continue. A closed-door meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump in Davos was followed by a similar interaction between Russian leader Vladimir Putin and U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff in Moscow. Our Kim Bo-kyung has the latest.
Top U.S. negotiators, including Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner and Russian President Vladimir Putin, have held talks in Moscow. Lasting more than 3 hours, the talks ran from Thursday night into the early hours of Friday. President Putin had previously indicated that he would discuss with Witkoff a plan to allocate $1 billion from Russia's frozen assets in the United States into the Board of Peace, a new international body proposed by Trump. Before that, U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had a meeting on Thursday in Davos, Switzerland, which both of them described positively. On the sidelines of the World Economic Forum, the two leaders had an hour-long session on post-war security guarantees for Ukraine and plans for economic reconstruction.
I had a very good meeting with President Zelensky. Everybody wants to have the war end.
Zelensky, too, gave a positive assessment of the talks and added that Ukrainian and Russian teams will have their first trilateral meeting with U.S. officials in the United Arab Emirates on Friday and Saturday.
And I think that it will be the first trilateral meeting in Emirates. It will be tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Yes, it will be 2 days meetings in Emirates.
Witkoff also said earlier that he believed the two sides were down to one issue without elaborating. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
The Trump administration is maintaining its expansion of military presence in the Middle East ahead of a potential strike against Iran. Now, speaking to members of the media back on Thursday, U.S. President Donald Trump claimed he had, quote, a big force going toward Iran, adding that he'd rather not see anything happen. Earlier, Trump had spoken of action against Iran over its vicious crackdown on anti-government protesters that resulted in thousands of fatalities. The USS Abraham Lincoln and its carrier strike group are now reportedly in the Indian Ocean. Back on the local front, the South Korean Navy's special forces assigned with deep-sea missions conducted their grueling winter training this week to strengthen their readiness posture. Our Cho Young-lin was there.
Despite freezing temperatures, 70 deep-sea divers from the Sea Salvage and Rescue Unit pushed through grueling drills and high-intensity physical training. Operating under the motto to the vaster and deeper sea, the SSU carries out critical missions at maritime disaster sites, including search and the rescue of distressed surface ships and submarines.
Through training that mirrors real-life operations, we ensure the highest level of rescue readiness to protect the lives of our people.
The training runs for 4 days in late January, traditionally the coldest part of winter in Korea, with temperatures dropping to as low as -8 degrees Celsius. Here, the SSU runs intensive winter training to build physical endurance and mental resilience needed to withstand the winter seas.
The SSU is ready to dive into the sea even in the freezing cold, if it means protecting our fellow service members and the public. We're fully prepared to carry out any mission.
Divers conduct scuba proficiency drills in waters near Guimet Naval Port, practicing search and rescue operations for simulated drowning victims. The highlight of the training is the Iron Platoon Selection Competition designed to test the diver's stamina, teamwork, and operational capability under extreme conditions. At the unit's basic diving training facility, divers train using a surface-applied diving system. They practice tasks such as assembling pipes and tying knots in low-visibility underwater conditions. Teamwork is further assessed through time-based competitions in group running, rubber boat paddling, and open water fin swimming. 조영은, Arirang News, 진해.
The Culture Ministry will allocate 499 billion won to its Content Policy Fund to raise a total to 731.8 billion won. The fund was jointly set up with the Korea Venture Investment Corporation and is now 22% larger on year and stands as the largest content policy fund ever established. The ministry links this reality to the Lee Jae-myung administration's resolve to support the growth of K-culture into a 300 trillion won market. On the entertainment front, Netflix summer sensation K-pop Demon Hunters has been nominated for 2 Oscars, one for Best Animated Feature and the other for Best Original Song for Golden. The 98th Academy Awards will be held on March 15th in Los Angeles. Earlier this month, the animated film also won Best Animated Film and Best Original Song at the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice Awards. The Seoul city government has conditionally approved a request by BTS for a concert in Gwanghwamun Square this March. Its agency HYBE had made the request as BTS prepares for its global comeback show, and its first stage here in Seoul will now take place at the downtown square on March 21st. The approval was announced during a meeting on Thursday with a list of stringent safety conditions to be met. BTS's 5th full-length album titled Arirang will be released on March 20th. A charming county in the southern part of the country is gaining traction for an intriguing tourism policy that allows travel experiences at half the expenses. Our culture correspondent Park Gun-woo was there to show us how.
Imagine being able to travel for half the cost. This is what's happening in Kangjin-gun, one of the southernmost counties on the Korean peninsula, surrounded by a beautiful ocean and bays spread with vast reed fields. Known for its clean environment and rich biodiversity, Kangjin has been offering pre-registered travelers half of their spending in local gift certificates since 2024, usable on their next visit. This policy aims to revitalize the region as its population declines, now standing at just over 30,000. And since this year's program began on January 19th, visitors have already been pouring in, despite Korea's recent cold snap.
I hadn't visited before because it felt far away. But this policy makes it very appealing, as you can enjoy traditional culture and explore around. If it expands nationwide, I think more young couples will choose domestic travel.
The numbers back that up. In the first year, more than 15,000 groups joined the program, spending around $4.5 million. Just a year later, participation jumped to nearly 40,000, with spending more than doubling. And as hands-on cultural travel continues to grow, Kangjin is fast becoming more than just a sightseeing stop. Thanks to its rich natural environment, Kangjin is the perfect place to enjoy authentic rural culture. And at this time of year, one of the highlights is definitely tangerine picking. And you can just walk through vinyl houses and pick fresh tangerines right off the trees and enjoy a fun hands-on experience. When life gives you tangerines, every piece of fruit delivers a message to those tired of city life, offering a taste of farmers' hard work and a slower, more natural rhythm of life.
The half-price travel policy has had a huge impact on our local economy. Guest numbers at our farm are up about 30%. As the local population is limited, visitors from outside are bringing new energy into this rural community.
And the experiences don't stop at tangerines. Depending on visitor taste, Kangjin offers a wide array of activities, including traditional tea making and tasting, as the places where Korea's first commercial tea was produced. Visitors can gently place tea leaves into molds to experience the making process firsthand and learn proper drinking etiquette along the way. Classic tea snacks like sweet bean jelly add even more depth and flavor to the experience. With so much to see, taste, and experience all at half the price, Kangjin is turning simple moments from tangerines to tea into experiences worth remembering. 박건우, 아리랑 뉴스, 강진.
In this installment of our special stories to celebrate 140 years of Korea-France friendship, we share with you the thoughts of France's top curator of Asian art. Our senior correspondent Oh Soo-young sat down with her for this interview, which is also available in its full format on air tonight at 10 p.m. Korea Standard Time.
Thank you, Dr. Lintz, so much for making time for us today.
It's a pleasure for me to welcome you here in Guimet Museum.
Musée Guimet is very well known for being the biggest museum in Europe, holding Korean art, Asian art. And well, first, could you introduce your Korean collection and why it matters as a reference point for Korean art in Europe?
Yes, you're right. We are so lucky to have one of the most important in the world, I should say. And what is also symbolic for us is our museum opened in 1889, and 4 years later, in 1893, we opened Korean galleries. So it's really linked in the history of the museum, and it was at this time in the heart of the collection. So that's why it's of course still now, after many acquisitions, donation, one of the most important in the world, and I should say the most important in Europe. And what is also for us important, 1893 is an important date. It's just 4 years after the opening of the museum, and it's 7 years after the opening of the diplomatic relation between Korea and France. So I think it symbolizes very well the importance of Korea in this museum.
So from a curatorial perspective, what do you think are still maybe under-recognized by the European audience when it comes to Korean art?
My opinion is that here in Europe, we don't know very well Korean art, and it's our responsibility, our mission to promote it better. That's why this year, 2026, we will have a special Korean season in Musée Guimet. Because here, because of the relation with Japan, for instance, and what we call sometimes Orientalism during 19th century, people here know better Japanese art, for instance. They know a little about Chinese porcelain or Chinese calligraphy. But it's for them very difficult to understand the place of Korean arts in this area of Eastern Asia. So I will be happy if in 1 year, with all the visitors we are expecting here for this Korean season, that I can hear, now I understand what, and I see what is Korean art.
You play a very important, very crucial role in promoting Korean art, of course, here in France. And would you say that the recognition has been growing by the year?
Yes, I think, of course, everyone knows about the importance of the Hallyu movement, the K-pop, K-beauty. And we will have here, as the first exhibition of the Korean year in March, next March, a K-beauty exhibition. So I think to be able to be attractive for people to discover Korean art, I think it's interesting to enter in it by the present phenomenon of K-pop, K-beauty. And I think it's a good way to understand the past through the present.
Finally, as we look forward into the year of 2026, the 140th year of Korea-France relations, what kinds of meaningful developments do you hope to see as cultural institutions in particular expand cooperation?
Of course, such a special celebration of the 140 years diplomatic relation between Korea and France has to be an opportunity to develop more relation and to build a fundamental project for the future. Of course, exhibitions, books, conference, but also for me what is important is to know better all Korean artists, musicians, performers, of course the Korean cinema. So at the end of 26, what I can tell you, it will not be the end of Korean events here in Guimet Museum.
I see there's more to come, and we hope to see you later in the year in Seoul. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Lintz.
Thank you.
The cold snap that kicked off earlier this week is still going strong as we head toward the weekend. Temperatures will continue to stay below -10 degrees Celsius through Sunday, so it's going to feel bitterly cold outside. In addition, cold wave warnings and advisories are still in place in many areas. Snow will continue along the west coast of the Jeollado provinces through this weekend. By tomorrow morning, coastal areas of the Jeollado provinces and Ulleungdo could have 2 to 7 centimeters of snow, with 1 to 5 centimeters are expected in Gwangju and the mountainous areas of Jeju Island. Seoul will start off at -11 degrees tomorrow morning, with Chuncheon at -14 degrees. Highs will rise to only -2 degrees in Seoul, 3 degrees in Gwangju and Daegu. From next Monday, temperatures will slowly rise and the fierce cold will ease off a bit. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. Right, those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up right after this break is our daily panel session, and today we delve into politics and soft power. So do stay with us, and thank you for now.